Is Travis Hunter the best wide receiver in the 2024 NFL draft class? Let's find out. So, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about Travis Hunter. We're going to be evaluating him based on 6 metrics in terms of wide receiver analysis. We're going to be looking at his market share analytics, also known as a dominator rating. I think as some people might have known. Efficiency analytics, age and competition analytics, advanced receiving analytics, down and distance analytics, and advanced market share analytics. So more advanced than the regular market share data. Doesn't necessarily mean it's better than the old market share data. It's just it's looking at advanced statistics specifically. The data collected from the charts are from College Football Reference and collegefootballstats.com. For a glossary of terms, please go to the link in the description. So, with all this way, let's get to market share analytics. So for Travis Hunter, he had a 69 percentile receiving market share production score, a 91 percentile total offensive market share production score, with a 94.24 percentile touchdown market share production score. So the only thing that's really inconsistent in his profile is his receiving market share. You know, the total offensive market share, which takes a look at him from a totality perspective. You know, how much of the offense he made up receiving and rushing. And then, of course, touchdown is how many touchdowns did he make up out of the offense total, you know, receiving and touching, you know, etc. And elite in those areas. But the receiving market share, not so much. And it kind of makes you wonder. But again, this is one thing you have to understand. He is somebody who's playing both sides of the football. So he's a unique player from that perspective. I don't think there's ever been a player quite like Travis Hunter in a very long time. Playing both sides of the football in college football is very rare. And to actually come out on top really well in both in terms of from a metrics perspective. So good numbers here, of course. There are some inconsistencies, but again, he was playing half the time on offense and also playing on defense. So, you know, there is some things to think about there with him from that. Then we get to efficiency analytics. So for Travis Hunter, his efficiency data, his yards per reception was below average. So he was not somebody who had a very high yards per reception, which we'll actually have some advanced data to kind of explain this a little bit more and unpack it. But that's the only one thing that kind of was below average in terms of him. His touchdown percentage, so how many touchdowns per touch he had, was relatively high, you know, 70 percentile, in line with what you want from an NFL wide receiver. But his yards per reception was below average. And there are some reasons for that, which we'll get to later, but that is one kind of concern with him based on efficiency data. Then we get to age and competition data. So this takes a look at his age. So he had a good age score, 88.30 out of 100. His MSA rating, which takes a look at his overall market share data uh, versus his age and his strength of competition and his strength of team. So how great of a team did he play on, you know, in Colorado? What was his competition like at Colorado? Those are things that is weighing in addition to his age, in addition to his production, which he did well, 93 percentile. His pass rating, because of his yards per reception, kind of dropped that a little bit, 89 percentile in terms of that. But when you look at the Pro Bowl averages and the All Pro averages, he's right in line with those for the most part, except for his pass rating. But you know, he's right in line with that potential as a wide receiver. So he's again from an age and competition adjusted analytics perspective, he has all pro potential. It just it's as simple as that. How you would examine that. Then you get to advanced receiving analytics. So this takes a look at a sample size. So the previous sample size for market share data, you know, was taking a look at a sample from 1969 all the way to 2024. This takes a look at data from 2009 to 2024 in terms of advanced statistics. So statistics that you can't necessarily get from College Football Reference, you have to go to collegefootballstats.com to get. And based on this area, you know, his TD percentage was high, 80 percentile. His first down uh, percentage, so how often he got a first down per catch, was 26 percentile, which is a little bit concerning. And we'll dive into that a little bit more as we get deeper into him. But as you can see here, his ability to get first downs, and some of this could have been the offense he was in. Again, Colorado had a lot of struggles in terms of the 2023. They got better in 2024, got a little bit more prolific, but they still had struggles on offense. So that is definitely something to kind of talk about there a little bit later, probably in another video. But he was not getting a high percentage of first downs per reception in that offense. Then, when you look at percentage of 15 plus yard plays, 27.99, so essentially 28 percentile. So he was below average in terms of getting a high percentage of his passes being 15 plus yard plays. Again, might be the offense he was in, though. That's the thing. Because if you look at Shedeur Sanders' data, he has similar issues. So some of this has to do with the fact of who his quarterback was and the offense that he was playing in, and the scheme and everything else like that. Then of course you look at 25 plus passes, where he's pretty much where you want him to be. Not below average, pretty much right in line with that. Again, 56.20 is pretty darn close to 55.99. So he pretty much hits that number for his percentages there. So solid data, but inconsistent, as you can see. There's some inconsistencies here to Travis Hunter in every data point you can look at, with the exception of his adjusted data. So just looking at his age, his production, his competition, those are fantastic. But when you actually dive deep into the data, into the numbers, there are some concerns. Then you get to down and distance conversion analytics. Based on this data, really high third down percentage score, 54% off. Not the best, but within line of where you want it to be. Second down ability, 58 percentile there. So his ability to get first downs and second down situations, he was above average compared to what most NFL wide receivers, high end, high quality NFL wide receivers typically do. And then you get to first down situations, 23 percentile in terms of getting first downs on first, which I think is mainly probably because of the offense that he was playing in. Again, I think that there are some things, and again, you can talk about the offensive line. I think it's a lot of things. I think it's the scheme. I think it's the offensive line. I think it's somewhat some of the decisions of the quarterback. All of these things can combine to kind of muck with that data. Because typically, when you have a below average first down conversion rate on first downs, you're playing at an offense that is not really stretching the football field as much as dumping a screen pass or jumping a check down or basically keeping things kind of closer to the line of scrimmage in that sort of 15-yard, less than 15-yard area of the football field. And that's kind of what really pops up with Travis Hunter from a statistical perspective with him. So again, these aren't the biggest concerns in the world, but again, inconsistencies here. There's for somebody, not taking away the fact that he could play cornerback too. Okay, not taking that away. I mean, those things could collectively, I think, definitely make him a top 5 player with the cornerback ability and the wide receiver ability. It's very unique, but there are some inconsistencies here. There just are, in terms of his data. And then when you get to advanced market share analytics, so this takes a look at his market share for the team that he was on in first down, 15 plus yard plays, and then 25 plus yard plays. And one thing you're going to notice here, if you look, is first down market share 65 percentile, so pretty much in line with where you want it to be. Percentage of 15 plus yard plays was just like his percentages, the fact that he was below average in terms of that number, on his own football team. He was not exactly performing how most high-end players typically do. I mean, he's close enough, 61 percentile versus 58 percentile if you round up. So pretty much in line with that, but kind of shows, that it makes sense why that number is lower because he did have a lower percentage of plays that were 15 plus yards. And then 25 plus, he made the vast majority of those plays on their offense. He was 28 percentile or 68.83 percentile in terms of that area right there. So this tells, again, this gives you some perspective here. He was not dominating the share of plays coming to him. He did dominate in terms of touchdown percentage. He did dominate in terms of total offensive market share. His ability to produce on offense in every way you can imagine. Rushing, receiving, etc. But there was some inconsistencies in terms of him as a wide receiver. Overall, I think, Travis Hunter has an elite total offensive market share and touchdown market share production guy. And you add in the fact he has a great age score. You just look at it from his competition adjusted analytics, which is what a lot of people do, is they just look at that number. They don't really care about anything else. A lot of film scouts typically like that number because they don't really care about getting in depth to anything specifically. They just want to get the overall picture of the guy, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just the general stuff. So the overall picture of him is that he is definitely an elite, all-pro potential type of wide receiver. But there are some concerns. Again, it is in his data. There's things that most of the players that were all-pro players typically did better in those areas that we kind of went over a little bit in terms of 15-plus yard plays, in terms of first down conversion rate. His overall first down conversion rate compared to a lot of wide receivers, about 1,500 plus wide receivers from the 2009 college football season to today. You're telling me that 70+% of those wide receivers in that time frame had a better first down conversion rate, the ability to get first downs, than Travis Hunter? So, and some of that has to do with the offense, but that definitely is a little pause for concern. I think the biggest thing to me is that, Hunter is a jack of all trades, but he did not really get the opportunity to be elite in one particular area. And that's the biggest thing. A lot of people want to, um, a lot of people want to have this fantasy that you can kind of do this and that, or be like Bo Jackson, or obviously Deion Sanders did the same thing. We got to do every role, and you're just such a great athlete, you can do everything at high level. And honestly, in terms of the positions that you play, playing cornerback is definitely athlete position, especially back then when Deion was playing, where you are, having to cover pretty much the whole football field. You're having to shut down the whole football field with your athletic ability, in terms of everything else. And not to say he doesn't have high football IQ, definitely did. But that's the thing about Travis Hunter is I wonder if he had actually stuck to just wide receiver or stuck to just cornerback and took all of his time and effort into really honing in and perfecting either one of those positions, what could he have done? How much better he might have been if he devoted more time to being a great wide receiver or more time to being a great cornerback. That's stuff that we won't really know, but that is generally what I see that's inconsistent from the data. So overall, Travis Hunter has all pro potential. He really does. Whether he plays cornerback, whether he plays wide receiver. I mean, we'll get a cornerback video up pretty soon. But just to look at him as a wide receiver, this kind of shows you how great of a player he is. That even when he's splitting time, he still puts up those honest signals of how great he could possibly be. It's just that, dang, if he just had a little bit more time, or if he played in a different offense with a different situation going on in college football, how much better might he have been from a statistical perspective? We won't ever know. But great player, and I'm excited to see what happens. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.